Hello students, in this video we learn photoelectric effect which was explained by Albert Einstein, and for that he got Nobel Prize. It is very famous effect clearly explained by Einstein. So let us dig into this. So here the name of the term itself indicates that photo means light. Photo means light generally, and electric means current. So overall, the term is indicating that the current due to light. Here, photoelectric. Photo means light, electric means current. So the term indicates that uh, current due to light. We are getting current due to light. So let us see how it happens. Means when light falls on certain metals, then electrons are emitted from the surface of metals. So this is called, in a more layman way, is called photoelectric effect. That means here light falls on the metallic surface, then electrons are emitted or ejected from the surface. Okay, this is a rough manner we can define photoelectric effect. Photo means light. We are sending light to the surface of the metal, right? And the light, so the light which falls on the surface, it is ejecting electrons from it. This effect is called photoelectric effect. And let us see. First of all, to understand this photoelectric effect. So actually this photoelectric effect was explained by Einstein in 19th century. But this effect was invented before that. Uh, but it took Einstein, it took so much time to explain, right? Why it took so much time means the people could not understand the real nature of light. Till now, nobody knows the actual nature of light. To understand this photoelectric effect, first of all, we should understand the nature of light, right? So, first of all, let us see the history of light theories, so that it gives a brief concept about our understanding of light. So, the first ever theory proposed for light is Newton's theory. Newton said that light travels in the form of small particles. You can see in the diagram, candle is there, right? And around the candle, you can see these dots. They are all these are particles. So Newton said that light travels in the form of particles, and these particles are called corpuscles. He called it as corpuscles. And based on this theory, he could explain reflection of light. He explained that it's just like a ball bouncing from the surface. All these are light particles which are incidenting on the surface, and they bounce back just like a ball. When you throw a ball, it bounces back. This is called a reflection of light. You might have seen reflection means a light reflecting from mirror or something else. Shiny surfaces, reflection. So in this way, he could explain reflection, and he also explained refraction of light also. But there are some other phenomena of light. These phenomena could not explain by Newton's corpuscular theory. So this theory has failed. The next theory proposed in the 16th century by Christian Huygens. He said that light is not traveling as a particle, but it is traveling as a wave. Here you can see, right? Here you can see in the diagram at the bottom, a candle is glowing and waves are sent likewise. It is just like still water is there. Simply you drop a stone in the middle, then ripples produce as a center of stone, and they travel forward in all directions. Likewise, when you lit a candle, light is produced from candle and it travels as a waves in all directions like this, like this. It spreads into the space. So this is called wave theory because he said that light travels in the form of waves indicated with the red color. You can see light wave, right? So he said that light travels as wave, and this theory could explain reflection, refraction, total internal reflection, diffraction, and polarization. All these are the properties of light. This Huygens wave theory could explain every uh, property of light almost, and it lasted for very long. And later, it also supported by Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. Maxwell proposed that light wave is electromagnetic wave. Light travels because it consists electric and magnetic fields vibrating perpendicular to each other. This theory is called Maxwell's electromagnetic theory. So the Huygens theory also supported by this theory. Huygens also said light travels in the form of waves. Then Maxwell also said light travels in the form of wave, and he discovered that it is electromagnetic wave, right? But this theory could not explain black body radiation. It is related to thermal radiation. Actually, a black body is a perfect absorber as well as perfect emitter of heat energy. So this electromagnetic theory or Huygens wave theory could not explain black body radiation, and it also could not explain the photoelectric effect, which is our topic. It could not explain photoelectric effect also. So these are the two demerits of this theory. That is why these two demerits were detected very later stage in the early 19th century. So the theory is still surviving, and as they are detected very later, then in the 19th century, the people started searching for more reliable theory which can connect all of this, which could fit into every phenomena that involved light. So in the 19th century, there is one scientist called Max Planck. He proposed quantum theory. Again, this Planck's quantum theory, it, it says that light consists of particles, and he called those particles as photons. It travels as a series of photons, and he explained everything using this theory. This is one of the successful theory. So here he explained everything, every property using this theory that light travels in the form of particles called photons. But these photons are different from material particles, right? This is a different particle, but he could explain everything. So this theory is surviving. So what this theory says, Planck's quantum theory, because we need to understand quantum theory, it is more related to our topic, because if you understand this Planck's quantum theory, then only you can understand photoelectric effect, otherwise you cannot. And but before going to that, here you may have doubt. So we have a series of theories we have seen. First Newton proposed particle corpuscular theory, right? Corpuscular theory. Then he could not explain everything, but later wave theory came into existence, and it was very successful for a very long times, right? So they are saying that light as a wave, and later another theory came saying that light as a particle. So you may get doubt whether light is a wave or a particle. Here we cannot say till now clearly whether light is a wave or particle, and therefore we assign both natures to this light. Light sometimes behaves as a wave and sometimes behaves as a particle. So how it behaves, it depends on the type of experiment you are doing. It behaves a type of situation you are giving to the light. Sometimes it is behaving like a wave, sometimes it behaves like a particle. So this is called dual nature of light. It behaves as a both particle as well as wave depending on the situation. So next we dwell deep into this quantum theory, what it says. So quantum theory says that light is a stream of particles called photons, and these particles travel in the straight line with the speed of light. So speed of light, 3 into 10 power 8 meter per second. So these photons also travel with the speed of light. So light is not a wave, it consists of a stream of particles called photons, right? And these particles travel in straight lines. So next, here this is very important. Each photon is associated with an energy given by E equal to nh mu. Here E indicates energy. E indicates energy of the photon, energy of light particle, right? And this energy of light particle is given as nh mu. N means it is integer, it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. And H means it is Planck's constant, its value is 6.626 into 10 power minus 36 joule second. It is a constant, it cannot change, right? It cannot change, it cannot be changed. Next, mu is frequency of light you are using, frequency of light you are using. So once again, the energy of light is given as nh nu, where n is a number, integer, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. H is constant and mu is frequency of light. So here, if you go on, as n is an integer, you can substitute either 1, 2, 3, 4. You cannot substitute 1.2 or 2.5 or 3.7 or 3.6 like that, because they are decimal numbers, right? Here n is integer, so you cannot substitute 1.3 or 2.5 like that. So it could strictly take values of integers only, 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you substitute these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 in the given equation, this equation becomes E equal to, suppose if you substitute n equal to 1 in this, then it becomes h mu. If you substitute n equal to 2, then it becomes 2h mu. If you substitute n equal to 3, then it becomes 3h mu, 4h mu. Likewise, it goes on. So here, the energy is having some discrete values, not continuous values. I mean to say that you can have h mu value of energy, 2h mu value of energy, but you cannot have 1.2 or 1.5 h mu of energy. This is called quantum nature. Then the energy is quantized value. It can have definite discrete values only. It cannot take all the values. This is called quantization, and that is why this theory is called quantum theory. So each light photon or the light you are seeing can have definite amount of energy, h mu, 2h mu, 3h mu, 4h mu. You can, it is it is very quite opposite to our understanding. You can understand like this. You see here, a man is watering the plants, right? Water is flowing continuously in the first figure, so all plants get water continuously, right? This is the classical nature of light. Light is coming, right? Classical nature of light. Whereas according to quantum theory, this man cannot pour water continuously. Here he has packets, packets of energy, just like light. Packets of energy is throwing. If this plant gets one packet, it will get 1 h mu of energy. If this plant gets two packets, it will get 2 h mu of energy. Three packets, 3 h mu of energy. Likewise, right? If this plant cannot get any energy, it is 0. If it gets one packet, then 1 h mu of energy. Likewise, each plant can get a definite packet of energy only. It cannot get continuous energy. But here, when waters the plants using pipe, the water continuously pouring. So it can have all amounts of energy continuously. But here it can have discrete packets of energy only, like 1 h mu, 2 h mu, 3 h mu, 4 h mu, likewise. So this is called quantum nature of light. Likewise, the energy is quantized. Energy is strictly quantized. You cannot have continuous energy. You can have discrete packets of energy. This is very, very important to keep in mind, right? So here what we are saying, we know that E equal to h mu, then we can say E is proportional to mu. E means energy, energy of photon or energy of light, you can say, and this energy is directly proportional to frequency of light, right? Frequency of light, why we are saying like that? Because in the previous slide you can see here energy of photon is given as n h mu. N is a number which is a constant, h is also constant. Only thing that is variable here is frequency. So here just ignoring the integer numbers, we can say that the energy of a light photon is directly proportional to the frequency. That means if frequency of light is more, then energy of light is also more, energy of photon is also more. If frequency of light is less, then energy of photon is also less. Remember this. So we say that energy of photon is directly proportional to frequency of light, right? And we know one formula, right? Speed of light is given as wavelength into frequency. This is general formula for speed of light. So in this way, here for frequency, if you equate it frequency, you are going to get c by lambda. Substitute same value of mu here. In case of h mu, you will get, in place of mu, you will get c by lambda. So now the new formula becomes c by lambda. Here we can say that this lambda is a wavelength. Earlier our equation was in terms of frequency, right? Now our equation, energy equation, came in terms of wavelength, hc by lambda. You can see that this lambda is inversely proportional to energy. See, we can say that energy of a photon is inversely proportional to the wavelength of light. Suppose the wavelength is more, energy is less. This is inverse relation. Okay. So in summary, we can say that energy is directly proportional to the frequency of light, right? And energy is inversely proportional to the wavelength of light. So if frequency is more, energy is more. If wavelength is more, energy is less. Okay, you need to keep this mind. Now, so energy of and intensity, in terms of Planck's quantum theory, when someone says intensity is directly proportional to number of photons. If you consider a light which is having more intense, you mean to say that it is having more number of photons, more number of light particles. This is also very, very important concept. Intensity is not related to energy. Intensity is related to number of photons. Remember that. So in a summary, intensity is not at all related to energy. That you keep it mind. Intensity, when someone says light intensity in quantum theory, that refers to number of photons. Now we come into our photoelectric effect. Up to now we have studied what is quantum theory and what it says, what are the properties of light and how we can explain. Now here, how we can explain this photoelectric effect using this quantum theory, right? So now you see here, this light comes and incidents on this metallic plate. These red color balls are electrons, right? and this is a metallic surface. Some free electrons are there here and there, right? These free electrons here which are present here and there, they are, when they get this photon means it is light energy, when they gets energy they come out of the metal. This is what called photoelectric effect. Now we try to understand how it is happening. When light is coming towards the metallic plate, light means they are photons, photon particles, it is energy, right? So these photons fall on electron, then this electron completely absorbs this energy of photon, then it will get more and more energy. When this gets more and more energy, it can come out of the metal, because earlier when there is no light, all these electrons are inside the metallic surface, because to get out of this metal they need energy. Actually, if you consider this time, let us say it is an atom, the green color are protons and neutrons, right? So these protons or neutrons, they are having a positive charge, and this electron is having a negative charge. This nucleus attract this electron, so it attracts and applies force on it towards the nucleus, so that the electron cannot go outside, because attractional force of this nucleus is acting on this electron and not letting it to go out, right? So to get out of this metal it requires energy. Because of that reason, because of that reason, when the photon incidents on this electron, then this electron absorbs the photon energy, right? Now it has got its own energy, then it can overcome the attraction of this nucleus of the atom, and it comes out. Similarly here also, this electron, it gets the energy from the photon, then it can overcome the attractional force of this nucleus, and it can come out. So in this way the electrons come out of the metals. Here, to come out of these metals, to overcome the force of attraction of this nucleus, they need to spend some energy. That energy is called work function. It is the energy spent by electron to come out of the metal, that is called work function, and it is constant for a given metal. Suppose the work function for all of these electrons is same, because they are present in the same metal. And if you change this metal, you take another metal, then this work function also changes. It is depends on the characteristic property of the metal. So work function means it is the amount of energy spent by electron to come out of the metal, right? That is called work function. And here we know that energy energy of photon energy of photon is directly proportional to frequency of light. If frequency of light is more, then energy is also more. Let us suppose these incoming photons has less frequency. That means they are having less energy. And less energy, that is not sufficient to eject the electron, because the electron may absorb photon but it may not come out because its energy is less. It requires some more energy, right? So here, suppose in another case we have increased the energy of photon, then the photon's energy just sufficient is just sufficient to eject the electron. That means the photon is coming and electron completely absorbed the photon and it came out. It just came out. Okay, so the frequency the frequency of light frequency of light below which there is no photoelectric effect is called threshold frequency. Threshold frequency, you can see here. The minimum frequency of light, the last two lines, you can see the minimum frequency of light below which there is no photoelectron emission is called threshold frequency. It is the minimum frequency of light required to eject the electron, because energy to come out of metal, electron requires energy. That energy is directly proportional to the frequency. If the frequency is less, energy is less, electron cannot come out. If frequency is more, energy is more, electron can come out. The minimum frequency for which this electron can absorb the photon and come out of the metal is called threshold frequency. If the frequency is below this threshold frequency, then electron cannot come out, right? This threshold frequency is also characteristic property of the metal. It changes from metal to metal, right? Next, this is Einstein's famous photoelectric equation, right? Here we are, here you can easily understand this because it is very simple equation. uh, Here you can see different diagrams, but let us go to the previous diagram. Here you can see these curved lines. These curved lines indicate incident light, which is h mu, incident light. This incident light is nothing but it is energy. Photon is giving energy to electron. Electron is absorbing this energy and coming out of this electron. Here electron is trapped inside a metal. This energy is given to the electron. Electron absorbs this light energy and comes out of the metal and runs away. It is moving. It is just like, h mu. Here we are just supplying the packets of energy in the form of photon. So which packet we have gave h mu packet of energy to electron. So h mu, then what it did, h mu is absorbed by electron and it spend some of the energy here. What is that? Phi, work function. In general, work function is denoted by phi. So it spends some energy to come out of the metal. So uh, some energy is lost by electron, and if it has any remaining energy, it will use it to run away from the metal. So this is what the electron do. Okay, so we have given h mu packet of energy. It is absorbed by electron, and electron spend phi energy in coming out of the metal, and whatever the remaining energy it has, it uses it to run away from the metal. It is, you can better understand in this way that suppose you are kidnapped by someone and kept in some room here, right? You are very tired because you have no food. Suddenly you got food like this. H mu food is there. What you do when you eat food, you will get energy. The first thing you do is you just come out of the room. So in coming out of the room, you spent work function, phi energy. Okay, you spend some energy in coming out of the room. Then what will you do? You run away because you are kidnapped, right? You run away from that room. So you're running away means you are converting your energy as kinetic energy. Similarly is the case with electron. Whatever the energy you gave it in the photon, then it is spent in overcoming the metallic attraction or coming out of the metal, that is work function, and remaining thing is used as kinetic energy. Kinetic energy of electron, it wants to run away from the metal, right? So here these two energies, the electron spent some of the energy here. Let us account the energies here. it spent phi energy in coming out of the metal, and it used some kinetic energy to run away from the metal. Where these energies came from? These energies came from photon, right? So we can write it as h mu, the photon energy, is equals to work function plus kinetic energy of electron. Whatever the energy that electron got from the photon, some of the energy is spent in coming out of the metal, and remaining it used as kinetic energy to move away from the metal. This is very very important. This is the main core of the photoelectric effect. And this famous equation which tells this is the photon energy here. Here h mu is the incident photon energy, phi is the work function spent by electron, and half mv square is the kinetic energy of the electron. So this equation is called Einstein's photoelectric equation. Einstein's photoelectric equation. Here you can see this equation is this equation. This equation is called h mu plus phi plus half mv square is called Einstein's photoelectric equation. In the left side diagram you can see, and if you observe the metal here, board, its work function is 2 electron volt. That means uh, if an electron is present inside the metal, if it want to come out of the metal, it needs 2 electron volts of energy. It spent 2 electron volts of energy. And here you can see the first red light ray, this one, this photon has only 1 electron volt. So it may be absorbed by the electron, but electron may not come out because electron requires a minimum of 2 electron volt to come out, right? So this photon may be absorbed by the electron, but electron stays inside only. It do not come out, right? Sometimes the photon may not be absorbed by the electron, right? And the second ray which shows that h mu equal to exactly 2 electron volt. This 2 electron volt is just sufficient to make the electron come out of the metal, right? So the electron absorbs this photon and comes out and stays on the surface of the metal itself because it has no energy to go anywhere, right? It just comes out of the metal, that's it. And the third one which shows it has 2.16 electron volts of energy, and when such photon is absorbed by the electron, then electron comes out because it has spent only 2 electron volt. Actually it is having 2.16 electron volt. It spent 2 electron volt already. What is the remaining thing? 0.16 electron volt. This is used as kinetic energy to run away from the metal. That is why the electron can run away from the metal. Similarly here also, here it is having 3.5 electron volt. 2 electron volt is spent here to come out of the metal, and remaining 1.5 electron volt energy is used to run away from the metal. So it simply runs away with kinetic energy of 1.5 electron volt. So this is what the Einstein's photoelectric equation says. Whatever the energy you give, whatever the energy given by the photon, it is used as overcoming and coming out of the metal, and remaining energy used for kinetic energy of electron to move away from the metal, right? This is Einstein's photoelectric equation. Next, we study some laws regarding this photoelectric emission and what are the factors that we can determine based on this photoelectric effect or photoelectric emission. Here, this is Einstein's famous equation, you know already. And from this, here you can see that this phi work function is constant for a given metal. If you choose metal, then it is constant. Now this h is also constant. This is kinetic energy of electron. This kinetic energy of electron is directly proportional to the frequency of incident light. So we can say that mu is directly, sorry, kinetic energy of this kinetic energy is directly proportional to frequency, because phi is a constant, h is also constant. So so we can say that uh, we can say that the kinetic energy of the electron is directly proportional to the frequency of light photon, right? And this kinetic energy of this photon is independent of intensity. I have already explained you, intensity means number of photons. Okay, it is not at all related to energy. This kinetic energy is purely independent of intensity, right? I'll explain in a more clear way. Here you see, here you may got doubt that, suppose uh, here the work function of this metal is 2 electron volt. What happens, suppose here photons of two photons of 1 electron volt are incident on this. So let us say we have this metallic surface, 1 electron volt and one more electron volt. These, so here the meta work function of this metal is 2 electron volt. So electron requires 2 electron volt to come out of this metal, but we have a photon of only 1 electron volt, right? And suppose you give another photon 1 electron volt, 2 photons are coming towards electron. Can it eject from the metal? No, it cannot eject. These photons simply absorbed by different electrons. Okay, so these photons, as they are having very less energy, right? They are having very less energy compared to 2 electron volt. So electron cannot come out unless you increase the energy frequency of photon or energy of photon. Electron cannot come out of this metal. Though there are two 1 electron volt photons, electron cannot absorb both of them simultaneously and come out, right? So that is why this so kinetic energy of kinetic energy of electron is independent of intensity. Intensity is related to number of photons. So kinetic energy do not depend on number of photons. And one more law is it is an instantaneous process. That means there is a no time delay. When the light falls on the metal, then simply electron is ejected out. No delay in falling of light and ejecting of electron. It is an instantaneous process. And this, threshold frequency is different for different metals. It is a characteristic property of the metals, right? And number of photoelectrons, here again I'll go back to explain this. Suppose here we have photons of 2.16 electron volts continuously coming towards this metallic plate, whose work function is 2 electron volt, right? So if one photon comes, one electron is ejected out. Two photons come, two electrons are ejected out. Likewise, if n number of photons incident on this, then n number of electrons are ejected out. Okay, n number of electrons means electrons, so many electrons coming out. These electrons, The flow of electrons is nothing but what you call current. As these electrons are due to photons, this current is called photocurrent. So if you want to increase number of electrons, you need to increase number of photons. Increasing number of electrons means increasing current, increasing photocurrent. Increasing number of photons means increasing intensity of light. I explain you. Number of photons means intensity of light. So this photocurrent is related to intensity. If you increase the intensity, that means if you increase number of photons falling to this surface continuously, then number of electrons also increases, photocurrent also increases. So we can say that this photocurrent, I current, is directly proportional to intensity of incident light. So we can say that photocurrent is directly proportional to intensity of incident light. So these are the one of the properties of photoelectric emission. So next, go for the applications of photoelectric effect. Photoelectric effect has got so many applications. Mostly it is used in light sensors. So as it detects the light sensor. One of the most common and well-known application is burglar alarm. You might have did this project work in your school level. That light sensor is mounted on the door. When someone comes and stands in front of the door, then light falling on that sensor will be reduced, because as the man is standing as a hindrance, as an obstacle to the light, no light falls on the sensor, then it beeps alarm. So this is called burglar alarm. Similarly, like applications in counting machines, note counting is a currency counting machines, this photoelectric effect is employed. And in fire alarms also, automatic door sensors, these are also light sensors. And color identification, also identification of different colors in televisions and in some other applications also used, right? So these are the applications of photoelectric effect. So with this we finish photoelectric effect. Thank you.